The Equalizer. It's a lot like Taxi Driver, Law-Abiding Citizen, Man on Fire, and Taken. Combine that all into one, and you got a ball of vigilante badass. Hey there guys, how are you? Welcome to a brand new movie review, and today we're talking about Equalizer. Now what is this movie about? Well, Denzel Washington plays this character with a mysterious past and a very specialized skill set. Yeah, he's basically Liam Neeson from Taken. But no, he's Liam Neeson from Taken. And I'm not complaining because I love movies about vigilantes who take justice into their own hands to do what is right and put fear into those who prey on the fearful. Yeah, a Batman reference. The best vigilante of all of them. Now just a few seconds ago in the beginning of this video, I said that this movie is very reminiscent to a lot of other movies, and that might be the case, but this movie is based off the 1980s TV series by the same name. Okay, let's get back to the movie. Now, this movie stars Denzel the Washington. Why do I call him that? Because every time this man's up on the big screen, he has such a screen presence about him that he just demands respect and he feels like an authoritative figure. And I like that aspect about Denzel Washington. I mean, yeah, in this movie, does he play typical Denzel, the cocky guy who's 2 steps ahead of everyone? Yeah, kind of, sort of, but it worked for this movie. But as tough and meticulous as Denzel Washington's character is in this movie, in other scenes, he's kind of a little bit tender and nurturing at the same time. For instance, there's a character in this movie, she's a Russian teenager prostitute played by Chloe Grace Moretz, which, by the way, I didn't even know she was in this movie. I was like, whoa, what is Hit Girl doing in there? She's a hooker. Okay, alright. I had no clue that was gonna happen in this movie. And her character and Denzel Washington's character had this lighthearted friendship. They always eat at the same late night diner together. They talk about books and music, and he knows what's going on with her, and he tries to help her out when he can, but he's not really forced over the edge to do anything until one day her Russian pimps beat her up, and then Denzel goes into action. When you really break down this movie, you could almost call it a modern day remake of Taxi Driver, directed by Martin Scorsese. Both main characters turn into vigilantes after working mundane jobs. They have a dark-rooted past. They hate society, they both invent little gadgets to help with their vigilante crime fighting, and yeah, they both hang out with young prostitutes. Very, very, very similar. Now, like I said already, Denzel Washington plays the hero in this movie, and what does every hero need? Well, they need their counterbalance, their villain. And the villain in this movie is played by this guy right here, who is also the villain in the movie Triple X. And in this movie, he kind of sort of plays the same thing. He plays the Russian bad guy. But I liked his villainous role in this movie, and it almost felt like it could have been a 007 villain at times, because he's very intelligent, very intellectual, and much like Denzel Washington's character, he's always 2 steps ahead of everyone. Now, as far as the look and style of this movie goes, it was directed by Antoine Fuqua, who also directed Training Day, and his last rated R action movie was Olympus Has Fallen. And speaking of that movie, this movie's also rated R, it's an action movie, and I'm just gonna say this, Antoine Fuqua should stay in that genre, because he's doing very well put together rated R action movies, so for that, I give the guy 2 thumbs up. Now let's talk about the violence in this movie. The first thing I want to say is this movie definitely earns that rated R rating. Now as far as the vibe and style of this movie goes, it reminded me of the movie Drive, just at certain points in this movie and certain scenes, especially the one scene where Denzel's character confronts the bad Russian guys in this back room of this club. Things get violent, there's definitely a confrontation, a brutality happening, and that scene was very reminiscent to the scene in Drive where Ryan Gosling stomps the guy's head in the elevator. Okay, I just wanted another reason to put my Drive jacket back on. It's not often you get to wear a Drive jacket, especially out in public. And it was a gory, bloody, fun time, but I do have a few complaints, a few minor complaints with some of the death scenes in this movie. At times, it almost turned into like a Saw movie where his traps were so overly complicated and convoluted. You're just like, why didn't he just stab him? Instead, he rigs up this device with barbed wire and bags of sand and all this other stuff. You're just like, that didn't seem necessary, but I guess it looked cool in the movie. And speaking of rigging up booby traps to take out the bad guys, the last 20 minutes of this movie kind of sort of turn into an adult rated R version of Home Alone. Yeah, you know, instead of little micro machine cars, he's stabbing people in the neck. Now before I give you my grade on this movie, let me tell you my few quick complaints about the movie, and that would be the pacing issues throughout this movie. This movie's runtime is 2 hours and 10 minutes long, but the movie felt much longer than that because there's so many side characters and side plots that the movie dedicates almost too much time to these things, and it kind of takes away from the main story. And the movie's also filled with a couple cliched, over-the-top, typical action scenes. There's one scene in this movie that to me almost felt tacked in, like they went back 2 weeks ago before the movie came out. They're like, yeah, just throw this scene in there because we need a big explosion in slow-mo with Denzel walking away from it. So the movie The Equalizer. Overall, I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. It's a badass, bloody, rated R action movie that goes for it when it needs to. So with all that said, I'm going to give the movie The Equalizer a B for badass. So guys, that's my take on the movie The Equalizer. Now here's my question to you, and let me know down below in the comments section, what is your favorite vigilante movie of all time? Let me know down below and tell me why. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, make sure you check me out on Facebook and Twitter, links down below, and I'll see you next time.